What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO. We're with the podcast. Back with the podcast. We're probably going to talk about a few other things as well, but we got a bunch of new cards to talk about, so we'll talk about those. Uh, Overall thoughts, and then this way I also have Steph. I'm sharing my screen with Steafen, so that way he can actually, weigh in instead of going, huh? Yeah, with new cards. So
I've looked them up before, and I do that. But then I go, man, this is so boring. I have to keep up with it. It doesn't work.
mhm.
I'd have to grab a bunch of cards and start shuffling through my hand to even pay attention.
Yeah.
I
I,
actually know about this card.
yeah, because of Sprite.
It is.
Okay, because it's a
It's
level
not
2.
great.
Yeah, I don't think it's very great either. Turu Peru Run, I think is how it's pronounced. Level 2 Water Aqua, 450 attack, 500 defense is its stats, but the important for Sprite is that it's a level 2 and that it can and its effect is if this card is in your hand, you can target one monster in your main monster zone. Destroy that monster, and if you do, special summon this card to the zone, and then destroy all opponents' face-up cards in the column. So I'm assuming what the idea is with Sprite, anyways. You play like some of the Nimble package or whatever. You pop your Nimble, you summon this, you blow up some of their stuff in their thing, or is it just because it's a level 2?
Yeah, that was what some guy was chatting about in the Sprite group, and a lot of people were like, no, you're wrong. That's stupid. You're not extending plays like that. And the
Mm,
thing doesn't naturally inherently extend your plays, right?
yeah,
So there's not a single water monster I can think of off the top of my head that has a real easy summoning condition or something to make it where using this plus that is worth it because you're still destroying something. And yes, you could at best destroy two things, but
mm,
most intelligent players are not going to set themselves up for this thing to be more than a one for one in card economy.
fair. All right. I guess yeah. I don't got much to say about this card. My impression of it was that it was not very good, and I like
Now,
the
say this was like destroy an earth monster or something
you pop the
on special
baby.
summon it. Oh, dude, you would play that in Dino.
Pop.
Like, you'd probably play that just as a nifty little tech thing that you could do. But
Hmm.
even then, it would probably have to have a better effect because you have so many cards that destroy the baby to begin with that it's real niche. And I'm sure they'll come out with something that'll make this card playable, and everyone will be like, "Oh, Stefan, you were wrong about this card." But as of 2024, awful.
I always find it funny in like card reviews and like stuff like that where people will comment literally years later that you're wrong because of this card is good blah blah blah, and then you're like, yeah, but I did that years ago when it wasn't. Like, you if you watch like any card reviews like I used to and all that, it's really funny to see people go back and say that, and it's like, but they're right for the time. It wasn't good then, now it is. So
I still think the Link Paleozoic monster is trash.
there's exactly
Do I
like,
play it? Do I play it in my IRL deck? Yes. But it's still trash. And there's very few situations where I really want to play it. And the situations where I want to play it, I'm already pretty screwed because the card that you're popping with it is rollback.
yeah,
You don't really want to draw a rollback and have to set it on the field and pop it.
rollback's only really good against like other trap based decks, and even then it's only certain ones. Like I was playing paleo tier and drew two rollbacks, and I just set one just in case. And it wasn't the one that was set wasn't even live the whole game, even though I was playing against Labyrinth.
The
Yeah,
game would be fine to play rollback like that since we're off on this tangent because I brought it up. Rollback is powerful. The problem is the use of infinite impermanence has gone down with the increase of stuff like Effect Veiler and other hand traps being run instead. So in a format where imperm is almost always an auto 3 include, you'll probably be able to at some point resolve uh rollback for its effect.
Mm.
The problem is rollback needs to be sent to the graveyard and you have to have a really good payoff for it, which I mean elemental burst is a very good payoff for that card. Or even balance of judgment, draw 5.
I don't know,
So
milling 5
it
off
has
needle
its
bag, off of needle bugs, and that's is pretty good in like the tier build specifically. But
yeah, tier build is good. I've done that a few times because I'm like, I'm going to die here. So what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, and it's the end phase. I'm like, I'm not. There's nothing I can draw, so I just need to send and see if I can. And the only thing that got me out of this situation would be milling exactly another rollback or and elemental burst or something else to save me. So I had to pay half my life points to do that. Mill. And it happened and it worked, but that's completely just rolling the dice and going to lose regardless and see what I can get.
we gambling, boys. All right, we'll move on to this light and dark fusion dragon. So, level 8, 2500 attack and defense both. Its materials are one light or dark dragon monster plus any dragon monster whatsoever. If this card is fusion summon, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of light and dark monsters. Your light and dark monsters used as material specifically. Even if it's banished, you can target a level 4 light or dark monster you control, and its level becomes 8. I would say that this card is almost a good instant fusion target in like for versus branded or something like that. But like the problem is it's if for its first effect, it just says your light and dark monsters, which implies that
Doesn't
it.
like a super poly.
Yeah, I mean you could still super poly just to break the board, but it's. I don't think it's worth it. At that point, you should. I guess it's bigger than Garura and stuff like that. I don't know. I think it's niche at best. I guess that's what I will say. This card is niche at best.
Works with Dragon's Mirror.
Yeah, Dragon's Mirror is a really funny card. I one time online for fun built a Monarch deck where instead of being domain monarchs where I lock the opponent out, I would purposely uh summon the Zaborg, the light Mega Monarch, or the Mega Monarch Zaborg, pop itself, send 8, and then use Dragon's Mirror in order to summon Zark.
I used to use Dragon's Mirror with Scapegoat to summon the first dragon.
That's funny too.
Opponent, I attack. Scapegoat. Ah, I take out 2 of your tokens. Me, you fool! Activate Dragon's Mirror. What are you fusing? My 2 goat tokens to make a dragon. Which, now that I think about it, that is pretty. That is actually pretty on point because I imagine it's just the goats getting sacrificed to bring the dragon.
uh, we'll move on, but that's funny. We got Dream Absorber. It's a level 2.
Is that Lee?
It's a level 2 water fairy. Did they mention this one in the sprite group either?
I think I saw the picture of this and I thought like some like Terminator stuff, but then I think isn't that the fairy from
Uh,
pretty, pretty sure that's the fairy from World Legacy, isn't it?
maybe. That'd be weird. Because, especially because this is water and that one was light. But, 0/0 for a level 2 water fairy. Yeah, its first effect is a hard once per turn. If your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand, grave, or banishment, you special summon this card from your graveyard. If it was there when the effect was activated, or hand, even if not, and destroy it during the end phase. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, this card gains 1,000 attack immediately after it resolved. This card is bad, but I can honestly say in a very bad sprite build, I could see it because if you bait the Ash Blossom and you have it, this is just a free level 2. But in a deck that's all extenders, I don't think it's worth it.
I mean, you're right. Uh, I could see it seeing play in a go second for
Yeah.
if it was an aqua type, you could just send it off of Swap Frog, but I don't know why if you were playing Swap Frog, you wouldn't just be sending the Ice Barrier card, just
Yeah, that new Ice
starting
Barrier
your plays.
that new Ice Barrier card literally gives a reason for to play Toad again in Sprite. Because right now it's really hard to actually like justify playing Toad in Sprite again.
Yeah, it justifies the Toad line, but the nice part about it is it becomes a starter,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes an extender, and it also becomes a finisher because you don't have to like everyone's getting like big brained about the Toad,
Yeah,
but what they're failing to see is that card alone not answering that Swap Frog puts 2 level 2s on the field
to make
that just lets you
gigantic.
start the whole entire
Yeah,
sprite thing. You can
yeah.
make gigantic, you can make scrined.
And if when the card comes to Master Duel, if it's not hit yet, you can make Elf.
Um, the card just naturally starts.
Mm.
It starts plays, it extends plays, and it finishes.
Yeah.
And it's not really that bricky to draw it.
Out of all the water fairies that I've seen so far, and like out of the new stuff, this one's worse. But then again, the other ones like the fixed maxi, so it's hard to really compare the two. You know,
Oh,
so
come on, that fixed max C is pretty hilarious.
it's funny. I think that fixed maxi is worth just firing off on the opponent's like draw phase
It is. There's no downside to firing it off. And
because
the great part about that card, I think what's great about that card is now you're introducing Yu-Gi-Oh players how to do mulligans.
yeah,
You're teaching them how to partial Paris mulligan.
it's also funny that like because it works on normal summons, there's literally no doubt. Or if they don't do literally anything, you're fine. And then it's like, yeah, I don't have it pulled up
You
and or anything.
you
If
fire it off,
yeah,
cool. The opponent's not doing anything anyways. I'm fine.
it's
But
really
then
funny. That card's not once per turn, by the way. If you had two, you could fire two off immediately and draw two.
that seems scary. That
Yeah,
could deck you out.
they have to summon from hand to get the draw though. And I think at
Yeah.
a certain point, deck stops specialing from hand. So I think at best you're gonna get like, on average, I should say, you'll get 1 to 3, and then I think in certain like nutty scenarios, you'll get like a way more.
It's a water type. So you know what that means? That card being a water type?
Uh,
OCG's never getting Toad back.
I'm pretty sure it's a level 4 as well.
Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact is Toad just targets a water monster and puts it back in the hand.
True, but you have to control
Like
no
you
cards.
but like the thing is that if you fired that off and then you make a Toad
Yeah.
and then you just put that back into your hand after your opponent's broke your board and you've interfered with a Toad enough and you
Mm.
have, no cards left, you just drop that and let's just keep going, bro. I'll eventually draw a nib.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, we'll move on. The card is called Molchummy Corellia.
Oh, this card.
Yes, I included this card because I figured you'd want to talk about it. Uh, ending exiling Morganite. Uh, it's just like the rest of them, or just like the other time tearing. You cannot activate monster effects in the hand. for the rest of the duel after you activate it. Each of your each of your monsters can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. If your monster battles an opponent's monster, it inflicts double the battle damage to your opponent. And then it also searches more time tearing Morganite. I know that this card you're pretty excited for, so I'll let you take it away.
So, like, the great part about this card is, um, you can play gigantic sprite in the Paleozoic deck. In fact, you should be playing it in the Paleozoic deck, right?
Yeah.
So you can go um, make a gigantic sprite after you've resolved this card. Use the terrible Paleozoic Link monster or any other Link monster you got there, plus level 2 to make him detach, special summon something from the deck, make a cat shark, and then detach from the cat shark, double his attack, and just big bang Kamehameha 1 attack position monster and just win outright right there. Or you can just straight up summon the lance, detach from it, or the javelin, detach from it, make their attack 0. Once again, big bang Kamehameha, you've done 64 damage. Like, and the double attacking is just great because there's so much weird card interactions in Yu-Gi-Oh right now that naturally require an extra hit to take out. Like, this right here turns almost all of your monsters into Ultimate Conductor Tyranno without the burn effect. And quite frankly, your payoffs in the Paleozoic deck love this.
Yeah.
Like,
Big
I'm going to
Blue.
clear your board. You're not going to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore because
This
I've just established control.
this card in Paleo, for example, can make Big Blue get rid of 3 monsters
Yeah,
just alone.
Big Blue alone at just 3 monsters. Because
Uh
2400 is a pretty good stat.
yep. So and for more casual players, also like playground Yu-Gi-Oh style, this card also seems like a no-brainer, just like Time Tearing Morganite is also. And for domain lovers, the people who play domain format, it's basically like a fan-made version of Konami's Deckmaster format, but it's better in every single way because you don't monster because you can't just have like Last Warrior from another planet and oh look, you can't summon and everything, and so because there's the effects don't work. It's basically Yu-Gi-Oh's version of MTG's Commander format, and it translated to Yu-Gi-Oh. And with how long games can go in it, stuff like this actually does matter, and everything like that. And something to mention, at least about the Paleos, that graveyard effect is pretty relevant because not only can you mill it, get the time tearing Morganite because you're not playing hand traps anyway, you could put back your you can put back transaction rollback back into the deck. It goes to the
Yeah,
bottom.
there are cards you don't want to draw.
Yeah. So overall, I think it's a good card for very specific decks. I definitely don't think it goes into every deck, but yeah, and because one of our friends who is pretty much out of Yu-Gi-Oh and out of the game and a lot of card games because he got kids to raise and stuff, mentioned it. I'll just bring it up here. Tenpai does not want this card. Chandra activates in hand to special summon itself, which doesn't work with this. It doesn't need the double attacks on monsters each battle phase, and the double damage isn't really necessary either. Plus, there's a lot of Tenpai decks that are running like 25 hand traps, so you know you and a lot of people really do believe that that's the better version of the deck. So yeah, overall, it's not necessary in that deck. But we got new Six Samurai stuff, so that's cool. And we'll talk about it here.
Which
Legendary.
6 Samurai were so much better.
Oh, some of these new cards do make them much better. So, we got a new synchro monster that's level 6. It's a new Shien, and it requires a warrior and a 6 samurai. If it's synchro summoned, you add a 6 samurai or Shien effect monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And then it has the old 6 samurai thing where if it would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you destroy one of your other monsters instead. Obvious.
That's upgraded.
Yep.
Because it doesn't specifically say a 6 samurai. Well,
Yeah. I guess you're right. It is upgraded. Doesn't activate because it's a replacement effect as well, and it pretty much what this card does is it gives more consistency and to extend your plays, and it gives an in archetype monster negate to a deck that could already easily make an in archetype spell and trap negate without having to go outside and make a Naturia Beast, which is very good.
special or normal summon Kagi, whatever the tuner,
yeah.
or special summon one of the level 4s, and you can make him to have a monster negator,
And a
and
search.
then you can use other cards to bring back the other ones to make a spell trap negator.
Yep. Also, and if you make this guy first, he searches first too to help extend your plays even more. Overall, very, very good card for the 6 samurai archetype. I know that I saw some people in a certain Discord go, 6 samurai, and I'm sitting here like 6 samurai is a fan favorite deck, and I know a lot of people, a lot of older Yu-Gi-Oh players love this deck. I like this deck
It's
myself.
a hated deck and it's a loved deck.
Yep.
I was a huge 6 samurai fan even after all the limits and stuff, and people still hated me when I played online with the deck. Like, 6 samurai, and I'm like, it's just a fun deck. But I was playing like Exceed spam with it too because I was bored. My whole entire extra deck was just basically spamming Exceed monsters, playing all the best Exceeds, and just beating you that way.
On Dev Pro, I used to play 6 Samurai a lot, and I would tear people up, and Gateway was banned. So, and I would still destroy people with it. And the reason why is because for a short period in 2014, they brought back Rhoda to 3. So, they brought back Rhoda to 3. So we had 3 smoke signals and 3 Rhodas. The deck was so consistent.
God, that's a good deck.
We got another synchro though. We got Inchi. Inchi now has a synchro form. Warrior monster. This one's generic. Warrior monsters you control gain 500 attack during the battle phase only. If this card is secret summon, you can banish any number of 6 samurai monsters from your graveyard, then target as many monsters your opponent controls and return them, or that many, and return them to the hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one of your banished 6 samurai monsters. This is meant to be an homage to the original Inchi, which would banish 2 to bounce one thing.
To bounce one. Now you can just banish a bunch, bounce a bunch, and then bring one back.
Yeah, it also.
Avenge me.
I believe it also kind of works with like the legendary 6 samurais, even though they banish from grave. Yeah, they ban it. Well, those ones banish from the grave to protect and stuff like that, and they don't have banish effects. But its last effect also works with its first effect. But not only that, if you synchro summon or link summon with this, you can get one of your banished 6 samurai monsters back again. So there's a lot of things you can do with this card. It's mainly meant as a board clearer at the end of the day. That's what it's meant for sure. And then it can be used as kind of an extender. Speaking of extenders, Anarchist Monk of the 6 Samurai is a level 3 warrior tuner, 500 attack, 0 defense. If you control a 6 samurai other than Anarchist Monk, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon it once this way. So it's another extender. even though it's only once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one 6 Samurai Quick Play spell from your deck to your hand. A 6 Samurai monster synchro summon using this card gains the effect. The levels of monsters your opponent controls are reduced by 1.
Oh, this searches the ascension of the Six Samurai.
Yep, it does.
Their quick play spell.
Yep.
Which lets you synchro. What level is this thing? 3? Oh, it just gives you just access.
Yep. Elder plus this can make either of the other 2 Samurai without committing your normal summon, or it can make the link to 6 Samurai that searches Gateway of the 6. So it and everything without using your normal again. There's a lot of like things that because and everything, but you could make that argument that as long as you have Elder and something else, that just one of the free specials you could make the links. But overall, I think this card is very good for the deck, and yeah, not much to say. Also, that level thing that can actually mess up a lot of opponents' plays.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised. Like so many times, there's been a few times I played Paleos, and because my opponent is playing like the Umi deck on Master Duel, I actually have to figure out a way to get rid of a legendary ocean without trying to destroy it, and sometimes I just don't draw the Demiscus for it. And
yeah.
and it's
Or
just
you just mess with sprites, turn them all into level 1s.
yeah. It's
It becomes harder.
it can be rough. But we got another monster instructor. It's an Earth Warrior tuner, level 2, 200 attack, 1200. Yep. It is also another extender because it special summons itself if you control one other than itself, and it's
another target for your Ascension of the Six Samurai. I'm saying that name wrong too, I think, but it's
yeah,
got
probably.
one like the only girl Six Samurai like changing into a different form because
Mhm.
they're no longer the legendaries.
If this card is sent from your field to the graveyard, add a 6 strike card from your deck to your hand. A 6 Samurai Synchro monster using this card's material gains the effect of monsters your opponent controls, lose 500 attack. That also can be.
Might be relevant.
Yeah, it's less relevant, but there are times where sometimes having a big bungus is hard to get over.
That could stop you. That could,
Mm.
in theory, that's like one less negate on
Appaloosa.
Appaloosa.
Yeah.
At least the last negate on the Appaloosa. So I mean,
Mm. We also got Union Pilot. This is not a 6 Sam card. We're kind of moving out of the 6 Sam cards, but Union Pilot, it's Union support pretty much. You target an effect monster, equip this card, unequip it to special, or unequip to special summon it. If uh, the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle card effect, you destroy this card instead. You can return this equip card to the hand. Equip one banished Union monster to an appropriate monster you control as if it is equipped by that monster's effect, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. So it's kind of an extender recovery play for unions. The idea being, I guess, is like you're playing it in like the new ABC stuff or the new XYZ stuff that got announced like I think like a month or two back that we just didn't cover.
how many years it took for them to actually like just in the long term
Mm.
to actually make Union into something that's playable.
I think Union to be
It can be
played.
a whole video in itself, the history of
Yeah, it Union should have
from trash
always
to playable.
Union should have always been able to equip from hand, in my opinion. Like I know that old Yu-Gi-Oh that might have been like scarier or whatever, but if you like think about old Union monsters, most of them weren't good, even with equips, even with their Union monster attached to them.
Yeah. But once again, old Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it would have most it is the correct call that they just reinvented the Union support
Yeah.
like that because in old Yu-Gi-Oh, I could see that just being so like busted
Mm-hmm.
because now like you had hand attack and other cards like that that just preyed on stuff being in the hand. So it was fine to have them there. Putting things on the field, board break was a thing, but it would have sped the game up a little too much for at least old Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, you think so?
I I think like in and we could always go on Dueling Book and test out some theories where we just added the effects
Mm-hmm.
to say they activate from hand, and I'm sure we could come up with silly stuff because um
It's worth mentioning that Union monsters, the equip and then unequip, you can't do both in the same turn. So,
but I think some of the effects were relevant enough, even as terrible as they were, to have a little bit of impact on things.
we got a new level
But
2, Chuck.
there's that fear. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. We got a new level 2 Ancient Gear called Ancient Gear Statue. Your opponent controls more monsters
Ancient
than you.
Gear Sprite.
Yeah. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. You know, special summon it once this way. Tribute this card. Special summon one Ancient Gear Golem or monster that mentions it from your hand or deck, except itself, ignoring summoning conditions. It's literally a lone fire for the deck, and that doesn't eat your normal summon. Pretty good. Your opponent just has to control more monsters than you, and if
Oh
you,
my god, I can make an OTK out of this thing.
I mean, that's all Ancient Gears really do is they
Yeah,
OTK.
but you could run it in a sprite engine.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's,
think it's better if I have an ancient gear golem on the field.
I guess. I don't
I
have
know
much to talk
it's
about.
stupid. I know.
I don't have much to talk about this card. It does what Ancient Gear wants. It summons a body for free.
Okay,
It summons a thing. It's pretty good. We're gonna move to Soul
it just means
Fist.
it just means the YGO Pro meta will start running it. When I say YGO Pro meta, there was a point when everyone was just trying to hit me with ancient gear decks, and I
Mm-hmm.
got so good at beating ancient gear players. It's kind of sad. I lost a few of them. Sometimes you just straight lose to that deck. There's nothing you can do. But I won so many of those. Like, come on, I said meta. This isn't meta. What are you doing?
Sometimes I lose to this deck that this card goes into called Soul Fist, and you can only equip it to a Dragon Synchro. A Red Dragon Archfiend equipped to this card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Once per turn, you can change the attack of all monsters your opponent currently controls to the equipped monsters. Once per turn, when an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And if you do, the equipped monster gains attack equal to the banished monsters until the end of the turn. I have I have lost to the Red Dragon Archfiend deck a few times. They can be pretty good. As for whether I think this card is good enough, I don't think they need this one. I think that deck is pretty streamlined, for the most part. After they got their
But you
extra
can grab this
the
straight
structure.
from the deck with Power Tool Dragon.
Yeah, but Power Tool Dragon can add almost any equipped spell. That's like you at that point you should probably if you're like using Power Tool to add something, you should probably like grab something better. Um, like I don't know, Power Tool is used in all kinds of like weird OTKs and FTKs. Like you can use it with like go get reveal 3 living fossil, which is basically a fixed version of premature burial. It just summons a level 4 and its effects are negated. And if living fossil leaves the field, you destroy the monster. So like I think that it would be better doing that instead of like Soul Fist, but that's just my opinion.
These are unofficial artwork.
Yeah. Well, we got. We're gonna talk about the new deck building thing. There's not much to talk about here. It's just like what the themes are and some of the artwork and stuff like that. So we got uh Rise Rai, a
We have
Rizal,
a Gundam
a
or
Gundam.
Megas XL.
Yeah, we got a Gundam. Uh, we got our waifu deck. We got the wild card.
Wild, wild card, right? You call
Yeah,
that the wild card.
yeah. So my theory of every deck building pack, there's there's the cool one that's like and everything. There's the waifu one, and then there's the wild card, right? So I'll go back as far as Secret Forces. The cool one is probably Necros. Necros is a really cool idea. The waifu one,
G2.
yeah, the waifu one would probably be the Ritual Beasts, and then the wild card would definitely be Yosenju.
Yeah, yeah. Yosenju was the wild card. Which is
Uh,
kind of funny that like all three of the decks in themselves kind of formed
mm,
a triad of rock, paper, scissors.
yep. Uh, the well, kind of. So without the Jin, Yosenju basically mainly because it was a floodgate deck. Yosenju actually did do well against the Yosenju did well against Necros and everything, mainly because of floodgates. Ritual Beasts could just blow up their whole board pretty easily constantly without the Jin. And Ritual Beast versus
Find
Yosenju
out our
was kind
general.
of weird. But the Gundam one is an Xyz based strategy. The waifu one is probably because it says he has control of a mysterious digital universe. I'm gonna guess it's a link based strategy, and it's based on Alice in Wonderland, straight up. Uh, the last one kind of reminds me of um like what was it, like Dual Terminal. Like, does this looks like a like Majesty Pendulum card and everything like that. It looks like a pendulum. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that because they are based on like Chinese dragons and stuff like that, I'm thinking that this is gonna be like a worm deck, a
Yeah.
worm pendulum deck maybe, because its art is very reminiscent of a lot of pendulum monsters. Is why I think that. Right now it's complete speculation. We only get like what certain things are based on the names and stuff like that. So that's what I think.
It's that'd be interesting, another pendulum like deck.
Hopefully it's good. I mean, I was never a big pendulum hater. I actually like pendulums, and I think
The problem with pendulums and this is like purely speculation, is that when they make a decent pendulum deck,
mm,
to make it really good and competitive, you have to make the deck so broken for the era that it plays in that inevitably you have to hit it.
yeah, I know that one
You
of the
have to
things
stop it.
I know one of the big issues I've heard people say, and links were the same way in my honest opinion. The big issue with pendulums wasn't the fact that how they worked and everything back in like 2015 or 16, where you can keep summoning your board. The problem was actually more that how generic pendulums were. They didn't have enough restrictions on them, I think, in terms of like if you have a pendulum archetype, that archetype should, like, if they wanted to fix pendulum, quote unquote, in terms of like they should have just made it so that you are like restricted to pendulum summoning your own archetype. You like and everything like that, and then I think it would have been fine. Like if you could still Xyz and stuff like that with and other stuff, but you were still locked into pendulum summoning your own. I think that while that would be still very powerful, I think it would, um, make it less like pendulum soup because that's pretty much what it is. Is it's just a giant soup. But that's just my opinion.
It's all soup.
Get in the soup. I think at least that's what I think. It's like it's same thing with links. My honest opinion, I think Yu-Gi-Oh actually would have gotten slower during link format if they didn't make so many good generic link monsters. Obviously, that was always going to happen. But like if
I
they
really did like. I liked Link era though. It was
I,
as awful as it was playing through it and stuff. I could still look back and go, like all the degenerate stuff that happened when there wasn't a huge amount of degeneracy in the format. It was kind of fun to just, be able to predict what the opponent's going to do, what zones they have access to, and
mm,
you know,
it's kind of
it
funny.
made people have to sequence and set their fields up correctly to do their plays.
It is kind of funny that people even now they kind of like forget about that and this is more like casual format wise, but I kept being like having to tell someone you have to use this monster, that monster for a link summon, or you have and everything like that. Because in domain the other day, because they were like, oh, that kept trying to summon. I was like, you have to move it over, or you have to put it in, a zone that a link monster points to link summon there. Oh, I want to do this. You have to use your link monster because you don't have it doesn't point to any zone. And I think at one
Yeah.
point, I think they were kind of getting annoyed at a little point. But I'm like, that's just how the rules are because I kept like making them do it properly. They still won, but
It
it was
matters.
like, yeah, but it matters because it's a game mechanic and that's how they work. Overall, I think we've had exciting news this far, and this has mainly been a card breakdown. We've kind of gone on a few tangents and everything, so it feels more like a podcast. But I guess I will bring up a thing that after the card review that I thought we we did try to record a video recently, and then its audio or whatever was like unusable, right?
Right. No, audio was unusable. I didn't check. I was on the wrong, for one, I was on the wrong recording system thing. 'Cause I have a few set up on mine. Like I have one for when I'm recording with you and we're not streaming.
Yeah.
And then I have like the main stream one. So I had the stream one up, and the settings on that one are just, they need work.
Mm,
Um,
that
my
makes sense.
fan was going on my laptop and just 50 million miles per hour. I gotta buy a tower.
Hmm.
I think I'm done using a laptop. Like this laptop has done a lot of good for me, but its fans are pretty bad. Um, I did do that, and we did that, and I was explaining game mechanics and stuff. Um, which kind of funny how much of the game mechanics I know for Yu-Gi-Oh, and like more advanced. I hate the term like advanced play, but it is
Hmm.
because like it almost makes it feel like, oh, you're not playing like really high level Yu-Gi-Oh unless you know this, because I've known plenty of people who have done so much better at tournaments than me, and they don't understand these advanced plays, and they still do really good at it, because that's the genius part of Yu-Gi-Oh is there are tricks, and they're tricks that very not enough people know, and so you can get your opponent with those tricks. And then once you get an opponent with that trick, they know the trick and they start using it.
Hmm.
So like the general idea is I've been going to like locals, and it's a smaller, locals, and by no means are they not, they're not super casual players, right? I mean, they have a little bit of that competitiveness in them. Now it's just trying to polish and teach them the basics of Yu-Gi-Oh and some of the more advanced stuff. So like, and I was going over like priority and stuff, because a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand priority and how turns pass back and forth. And, you know,
And
I feel like I
how priority
should.
still exists. Like I know that,
Yes.
that's still that's a thing that I know that people kind of overlook or like what they think because when they think of priority they think of what's what the term was called ignition priority. That's what they think of. But priority still exists. It's just you it just makes more sense now. It that's all I'll say. At least in my opinion, it makes more sense. Like logically
We got
speaking,
rid of we got rid of old school magic priority.
yeah. I that's pretty much what it came down to. We'll probably re-record that video, so we won't like go into too much detail, and maybe we'll record it on my end, who actually has good setup, and you won't hear a fan blowing constantly. But uh, but like a good example of like something we
I'll work
talked
on a
about.
better setup thing if I'm going to start recording videos because I do get spontaneous ideas and stuff and record them, or I'll have a really cool replay and I'll
Mm,
spend like almost 3 hours working on making sure that sounds perfect, which is why I was a little annoyed that
mm.
that recording didn't sound good because that recording came like right after I had set up everything perfectly for the one video that I posted up and it just didn't work and I was like, "Oh, well, this is kind of lame." But then again, I remember the last time I streamed, I know my setup got all screwy. Like my voice went low, and then the
Mm.
thing went all high randomly. And I think that was because my mouse got over on the double screen, and I was hitting keys.
Well,
Um,
you're when you stream it, like a lot of the times, like you won't even lean back away from your mic or whatever, but you'll just randomly like go real quiet and everything. You'll be in the same position, just randomly get real quiet a lot of the time.
yeah, I'm gonna work on that setup on that. I think it might be the soundproofing around my microphone right now.
Maybe I know that my mic doesn't have any soundproofing around it. The only reason it sounds as clear is because in my OBS I messed with a lot of the like I made it so there's no echo in my room because of settings and stuff like that, and I made it sound as crisp as like clear as possible. I know that I've had people say that I sound quiet, but that's just because my mic is actually pretty far away and I'm just talking loud for me because I have a naturally pretty quiet voice.
Yeah, and I think mine is also vocal levels. My voice fluctuates in how hard I'm talking and how soft I talk.
Yeah,
And so it's like you can tell when I'm excited or when I'm calm
a
because my voice changes tone
but
and how loud I am.
an example. We'll leave you with this. An example of something we talked about in the video that we're probably going to re-record at some point. Here's an example I brought up in that video that made Steafen go, oh, is what was it? Oh, if someone activates infinite impermanence on you and targets your monster, and it was all, and let's say infinite impermanence was already set, so it would negate everything in that column if it resolves. If you were to, let's say, send that monster to the graveyard with something like Forbidden Chalice, uh, that whole column that Imperm was in,
Droplets.
yeah, droplet, yeah, it with droplets. My bad. If you were to send the monster for cost with droplets before Imperm can resolve, uh, that whole column will not be shut off.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of thought back on that now and I went, oh, yeah, he's right. That is how that works.
Yep.
But then again, it just never clicked in my head to do that play and
Mm-hmm.
to prevent that imperm from happening like that.
So
So that
if
was my aha moment of, oh, wow.
if you
Like,
are
but
one of
I
those,
also am a firm believer in not
mm,
putting droplets in everything because there are decks that can't utilize it.
yeah,
Paleozoic deck, I would have a hard time utilizing that card.
I mean you could use it kinda to like they'd probably be able to negate things for the most part. But something you could do in that deck with the paleos is you could use it to send transaction rollback. So
Yeah.
but overall, you're right. It's not worth it. But if you're someone that has struggles playing around the imperm column and you play droplets in a lot of your decks, just, keep that in mind. But that's going to do it for this video. We've been going for almost 50 minutes. So If you like this video, liking, commenting, and subscribing is the best way to support the channel, and you can do it for free because that's the beauty of YouTube. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday, and of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.